Hi, everybody. Mitch I'm here. Thanks for joining me today. We talk all the time about CMMC and complying with 80171, and people ask, well, if we do that, are we good? And the answer is no. So that's an important distinction. I'm going to share the actual DFARS clause and go over it in not very much detail, but just kind of give you a heads up. So, here's the actual DFARS clause. And if you look at it, you can see, there's a lot of different stuff in here, but it's important to read it if you haven't done it. One thing that stood out to me when I was looking at it this morning is how quickly you have to report an incident. It specifically says that you have to be able to report an incident in 72 hours, which is not very long. But if we look at the clauses, it says you have to implement 80171 no later than October 1st, 2017. That's old news, and some other stuff related to that. But cyber incident reporting, that's another section, which is not in 80171 specifically, but it is in 7012. So, it says when you have an incident, you need to be able to respond to that. You need to conduct a review for evidence, report it to the DoD. If you have malware, you need to isolate that software and give them a copy if they want it. In general, you need to preserve image of infected systems if you have an incident. You need to give DoD access to additional information that they ask for. And then, and then there's more. It keeps going on, and in particular, it talks about some of the stuff here that what the government is allowed to do. But if you haven't read 7012 in some detail, you should. And then here's the newest thing it's not new because it's in 7012, which has been around for a long, long time, but it's new in the context of the government is in the process of changing the CPARs, the Contractor Performance Assessment System. And it says if you are not flowing down the required clauses to your subcontractors, then you're going to get dinged in CPARs, which will decrease the odds of you getting the contract. So if all this is a little bit of a mind-blowing experience, which it might be, then please reach out to us. We'll be happy to discuss any questions you have. But this is also part of your CMMC compliance. Where this came up was, the DIPCAC is continuing to do audits, and they're right. That's, in the 252-204 7000 series clauses, I think it's 7020. They have the right to do an audit whenever they want. They can either do it remotely or they can do it on site. And people are getting these letters now saying, we'll be here to visit you in 90 days. And here's kind of the timeline of everything that we want. And this is not optional. And if you say you're not ready in 90 days, they're going to say they don't care. We're still going to be there in 90 days. So, it's important to understand. And apparently, for people who've gone through these DIPCAC audits, they're saying that they're asking about all this other stuff that's in 7012, in addition to the stuff that's in 80171A. So, if you haven't looked at 7012, now would be a great time to do that. And if you have questions, please let us know. But thanks for spending a few minutes with me today, and just know we're here to help you. Take care.